Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be back with you again. I wish we were back together, but we can't be. So I think the time's getting closer that we might be able to be back together and enjoy our breakfast pizza. But for this Mother's Day Sunday, we're going to have to be apart and we have to do it this way. So at the end of the lesson, just make sure you tell your mom or your grandmother thanks for all the things they do for you. And today's lesson is about James and John, the sons of Zebedee. And last week, interestingly enough, the story of God's got what's next when Jesus appears, two of the people he's talking to is James and John. And so this is a story a little bit earlier, before Jesus was crucified, in which Jesus was in town. They were there with James and John, and they were there with their mother. And Jesus uses a question asked by a mother in order to show what a mother's heart looks like. So today's lesson is God's got a mother's heart. Jesus was in town. He was walking through town, and he's approached by a woman. And this woman actually spent a lot of time with Jesus. We see her referred to in a couple of different occasions, both before Jesus was crucified and after. But in this moment, we get to see a very personal conversation between a mother and Jesus dealing with her two sons. And the Bible says, "And the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus with her sons. She knelt respectfully to ask a favor. 'What is your request?' he asked. She replied, 'In your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in a place of honor next to you, one on your right and one on your left.'" Now, one thing we know about mothers and grandmothers is that they want what's best for their kids. And they want to see them succeed. They want to see them to be successful. I know Leanne does for our kids. She wants them to do what they need to do in order to be successful in life. And a lot of moms will do anything to make sure that their kids have what they need when they need it. And a lot of times they sacrifice their own self to ensure that their kids can have the things they need to be successful. And here's another mother that does that. So she comes to Jesus and she kneels before Jesus respectfully. And at the moment she kneels, Jesus knows in her mind that she's getting ready to ask him for something. So he cuts right to the chase and he says, "What is your request?" Well, her request was pretty awesome. And her request was, I want my sons to sit at your right and your left. And Jesus responds to her and says, "But Jesus saying to them, you don't know what you're asking." Exclamation point. "Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I'm about to drink?" So Jesus looks at her and says, "Be careful what you're asking for because you just might get it." And what he's trying to tell her is that there's a lot of bad things that are getting ready to happen. And there's a lot of bad things that have happened before, and there's a lot of bad things that's going to happen after Jesus dies and is resurrected. But he's telling her, be careful what you ask for because you're putting on your sons a heavy burden. In order to sit to the right and the left, they're going to have to take on the cup of crucifixion that Jesus took on. And that's a huge deal to do. And her answer is yes. Oh, yes. And here's what she says. "We are able." Now, that's an interesting response for a mom. So mom doesn't only says, "Yes, my son can do that," like any mom would do. But she realizes that in order for her kids to be successful, she uses what pronoun? We. So she becomes a part of this journey that they're going to have to take, and she's going to be the person that's going to put them out there, and be the person that supports them, and be the person that's going to be there for them when the going gets tough. Ready? So Jesus hears her, and he again responds to her and says, "This is going to be tougher than you think, and quite frankly, I'm not sure that I can do what you ask me to do." And he says, "You will indeed need to drink from my bitter cup. But I have no right to say who will sit on my right or my left. My Father has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen." So Jesus tells her that he appreciates what she's trying to do. And she wants her sons to be successful. And she wants her sons to have the things that she wants them to have in order to be at the right and the left of Jesus in heaven. But what he tells her is that's not my place to put people there. That my Father has prepared those places. And that he's the one that's chosen those people. So what happens is the disciples hear this going on between James and John's mother and Jesus. And instantly they get what? Jealous. They get upset The Bible says they get indignant. And indignant means more than just pouty. It means more than just sad. It means downright angry. And so they're angry to the point of almost not being able to be consoled. So Jesus did what Jesus is best at. And that is, he called them all together and talked to them at one time. All of his disciples in the same place at the same time, and he talked to them. And this is what he told them. His answer to their being upset probably surprised them all by what was getting ready to happen. And Jesus says, these are red letter words, "You know that the rulers in this world lord over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be the first among you must become your slave. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and to give his life as a ransom for many." So Jesus starts to explain to them that in order to prepare yourself for heaven, in order to be a leader and to be like Jesus, you have to have a servant's heart. So Jesus looks to him and says, if you want to be successful and you want to be like me and you want to be like Jesus, then you need to have a servant's heart first. And for a lot of us, that's very difficult. Because a lot of us, we're in school, we want for us. So what does it take to be like Jesus? More important for our answer is, what does it take to have a mother's heart? Because when we see in our moms or our grandmothers, the description that Jesus gives here reminds me of a mother's heart every day of the week. And he saw this in this lady because if you remember, she asked for her kids to be successful. But in doing so, she put herself in the equation. She knew that she was going to have to sacrifice to help them and that she was going to have to serve them so that her kids end up on the right and the left of Jesus. And so that's what Jesus is using this as an example to show is in order to be at that position, you have to be willing to serve others. And it says, to be a leader, you must first be a servant. Now, I think of moms, that describes a mom perfect. I think of Leanne, I think of my mother, I think of Joanne and some other people. When we look at moms or grandmothers, they sacrifice everything so their kids can be successful. They really do. I know, for example, in our house, we all like to have a nice car. All like to have a new car, but we don't. And we don't so our kids can have the things that they need in order to be safe when they're driving on the road. There's things that you want all the time as parents that, quite frankly, you just don't get because there's college coming, or there's car insurance coming, or there's fees for school coming, or a DC trip coming, and you will do anything in the world to make sure that those kids have what they want. So it's sort of like Jesus says here, mothers give up themselves so that their kids can be successful and be among them. And by doing so, they're a leader. And that's really tough for us as people. Because in school, we kind of want to be first. And it's okay to want to be first. It's okay to be successful. I don't want you to take from us you can't be successful. It's okay to be successful, but you're more successful if you do it, and you're a better leader if you serve others. I'll give you an example. If you're playing on a football team, and you're the quarterback of the football team, quite frankly, I was, and I can tell you this, and if any of my fellow football mates are watching this, they'll agree with you. I didn't do much of anything in practice, right? I didn't. I worked hard in the off season, things like that. But practice was not that hard. But the one thing that I always tried to do is when it came time to do the hard stuff, be there to do it. When it came time to push yourself harder than everybody else. When it came time to pick somebody up, they had a bad play or a fumble or a dropped pass, try to be the first one there to pat them on the back and say, it's going to be all right, we're going to get it next time. That's what it takes to be a leader. So in school, when we want to be leaders in school, we need to understand that in order to do that, it means putting others first. Because in any team or in any family, you're only as strong as your weakest person. So when we take away from this lesson for today, And as you go back to the summer and you see your friends, try to be second in line. You're in line, you see somebody walking there at the same time you do, let them go first. Try to be second when it comes time to get something. One of the things you usually see is when you're passing out candy or cupcakes, everybody runs to the front to get theirs. How about you just wait? You let somebody else go in front of you. How about you hold the door for your mother on Mother's Day? How about you stand up when they enter the room, or you pull their chair out for them, or you help them wash dishes, or you help them clean the table? How about we try to be servants for Mother's Day? And we carry that on for the rest of our life. That we can help people by doing that, you'll be a leader. Because that's what Jesus tells us a leader is, just like our moms. They wash our clothes, they do the dishes, they go to work, they have tough jobs, but yet they make sure you have everything you need when school shows up the next morning. So what I want you to do is I want you to say thanks. And I want you to tell your mom thanks for all they've done. And I want you to look at how your mother handles herself and use that as you go through the rest of your life and through school with your friends. Try to be a leader by being a servant, like Jesus pointed out through James and John's mother, that she was willing to give up everything. She was willing to drink from the bitter cup and do everything she could do so that her sons could be on the right and the left of Jesus. But the most important part of this message is the very last sentence of this chapter, and it says, "For even the Son of Man, being Jesus, came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many." That's what Jesus has done for us. So if you're having a bad day or things aren't going the way that you want them to go, understand that Jesus is here for you, that he has been the ultimate servant, and he showed a mother's heart when he gave his life for us. He sacrificed everything, and he didn't have to, but yet he did so that we could have a good life. And your mothers and your grandmothers do that for you every day, even though you don't know it. So I want you to, again, tell them thanks, and I want you to serve your mother, and I want you to serve your friends in order to show that, hey, I'm a leader. I'm a strong person. Hope you guys have a great Mother's Day. I hope you enjoy your time together. Clean up the table, pull out the chair, do the things you're supposed to do, and think about having a mother's heart as Jesus used it here. Be a leader by serving others. Love you guys, and I hope to see you in a few weeks. Have a good morning. See ya.